Hello everyone. I am back with another video today. If you remember to yesterday, we began working on multiplying fractions, right? So we were multiplying like 6/8 times, I'm going to put our dot there to show multiplication, right? Times, I don't know, 10/15. So we're sort of going to continue that today. But instead of just fractions, we are going to multiply mixed numbers. So a mixed number, if you remember, has a whole number to it and then a fraction. So we're going to work on multiplying mixed numbers together, whatever your mixed number may be. So you're going to find a lot of similarities into what we did yesterday, with one small change at the very beginning. So let's get started on multiplying mixed numbers. Okay, when we are multiplying fractions, if you remember, we were multiplying straight across. We did not need to find a common denominator, which is still going to apply here. We're going to do that, but what we must do first is we must take these mixed numbers and make them improper. We want to change them to get rid of the whole number. We just want to have a numerator and denominator. So we have done this before, right? We start at the bottom and we multiply and then we add. So 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 plus 2, we're going to change this into 18 over 8. And I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Start at the bottom, multiply, and then add. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3, it is 15 over 6. And once we do that, it is exactly like we did yesterday. Whereas you can multiply straight across and reduce at the end, or we can reduce early a little bit. So let's reduce early. And remember, when we reduce, you can reduce up and down, or we could reduce diagonally. It must always be a numerator and a denominator that you're reducing. So let's look up and down first. 18 and 8. Both of those are even numbers, so let's divide them by 2. So if I divide 18 by 2, I get a 9. And if I divide 8 by 2, I get a 4. Okay, let's go over to this side. We're reducing up and down. 15 and 6. Well, I think 3 goes into both of those. So let's divide by 3. So if I divide by 3, I get a 5. And if I divide by 3, I get a 2. Okay, so if I look up and down, that's all I can do. Right? 5 and 2, nothing else goes into those. 9 and 4. So let's just check our diagonals just in case. Well, 4 and 5 don't share any common factors, and neither do 9 and 2. So I think that's all we can do. So if there's nothing more to reduce, let's multiply straight across. 9 times 5 is 45. And our bottom numbers here, denominators, 4 times 2 gives us an 8. Okay, so just like before, we always need to change improper fractions and reduce. Now, I know some of you can probably do this in your head, okay, but for the sake of everybody else, let's change 45/8 using division. So 45 divided by 8. Okay, the closest I will get is times 5, which is 40. And we have 5 left over when we subtract. Okay, so my fraction is, this is your whole number, 5. Denominator stays the same, 8. And in this case, we have 5 left over. Okay, so we changed the improper fraction. Now let's see if we can reduce. 5/8 does not get any smaller. So that is as low as it is going to go. So the only real difference from yesterday, guys, is if you have a whole number, you need to make it improper. We didn't have to do that yesterday because we didn't have whole numbers. Okay, so that's just how we're slightly different here today. Let's look at another one. Okay, so here's our new problem. 1 8/10 times 2 6/12. So again, as you see, we have a whole number. So we need to make it improper. So we start at the bottom and we multiply and then we add. So 1 8/10, 1 times 10 is 10 plus 8 should be 18, and we keep the same bottom numbers over 10. Okay, let's go to the other problem. 2 6/12. Well, 2 times 12 is 24, and 24 plus 6 is 30. So here we have a 30 over 12. Okay? All right, so let's move on to the next step, which is reducing. And again, we can reduce up and down, or you may reduce diagonally. Remember, you always have to reduce a numerator and denominator, which means I could reduce up and down or diagonally because there's a numerator and denominator this way also. Okay, so I'm going to start looking up and down first. 18 and 10 could be divided by 2, right? They're even. So if I divide 18 by 2, I get 9. And if I divide 10 by 2, I get 5. All right, let's go to this side now. So 30 and 12. Well, they're even. I could do 2. I think 3 go into both of them, so I could do 3. But I think 6 goes into both of them also. So let's divide by 6. So if I divide by 6, I get 5. And if I divide by 6, I also get a 2. Okay, so let's just check our up and down before we go diagonally. 9 and 5, I don't see anything else for us to do. And 5 and 2, I don't think there's anything that way either. So let's look diagonally now. So 2 and 9, is there anything that goes into them? No, but let's look at 5 and 5. Can't 5 and 5 both be divided by 5? So if we divide 5 by 5, I get 1. If I divide this 5 by 5, I also get 1. So I think we've checked up and down, and I think we've checked our diagonals. So there's nothing left to do but multiply straight across. So 9 times 1 is 9, and 2 times 1 is 2. So we have right now 9 over 2. Okay, again, we have an improper fraction. We cannot leave that. We need to change it. So 9 divided by 2. The closest you're going to get, 2 times 4, which is 8. And then when we subtract, we have 1 left over. So our answer, we have 4 wholes. My denominator stays at 2. And my numerator is 1. 4.5. So if we double check this, there's nothing that goes into a half. That's as low as it can go. So we are done. We have reduced it and we have changed improper fractions. So when we multiplied together, we got 4.5. Okay, I am now showing you another problem. And in this problem, if you look at our fractions here, we actually have a fraction and we have a mixed number. So we have both types mixed together, and that's perfectly fine. So if you have a fraction, you don't need to change anything here because I don't have a whole number to get rid of. So this one can stay as it is. So 12/18 we are just going to leave alone. But the 2 and 3/6 does have a whole number, and we want to get rid of it so that it's just a numerator and denominator. So we're going to make it improper, just like we've been doing. 6 times 2 is 12, and then plus 3. So we would end up with 15 over 6. Okay? And now that we've done that, we can begin our reducing. So let's look, and it doesn't matter if you look up and down first, or if you look diagonally. Either one, whichever is your preference is fine, as long as you check both. So let's look up and down. 12 and 18. Well, they're even, so I could do 2. 3 goes into both, but I think I want to do the biggest one I can, and so let's do 6. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So this one is actually reduced down to 2/3. Let's go to 15 and 6. Well, I think 3 goes into both of those. We can't do 2 because it's not even. 15 isn't even. So let's do 3. So if I divide by 3, I have a 5. And if I divide by 3, I also have a 2. So now this fraction is 5 over 2. So we've checked all of the up and down here. So let's look diagonally. Well, 5 and 3, nothing will go into that. So there's nothing I can do that way. But let's check this way. 2 and 2, they could be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I think we've done up and down and checked our diagonals. There's nothing left. So we multiply across. So 5 times 1 is 5. 3 times 1 is 3. Again, we have the improper fraction. So we're going to do some changing here. So 5 divided by 3. Again, a lot of you can do this in your head. That's fine. It'll go once. And you will have 2 left over here. So we come up with our fraction of 1 is our whole number. Bottom number, or your denominator, stays at 3. And your numerator is 2. It is reduced. I cannot make it any lower. And it is no longer improper. So you are finished. Okay? So in this problem, you had a fraction and a mixed number. The fraction you could leave alone. The mixed number we had to change first. Okay? So please remember, guys, this is exactly like you have been doing. The only exception is that if you have a mixed number, just make it improper first before you reduce and then multiply straight across. Okay? Guys, you do have a practice to do here. Please show your work on it. Don't leave improper fractions. And always, always remember to reduce. Message me if you need something. Have a great afternoon.